It creates jobs and it supports the struggling hospitality sector. I want small businesses to be taking risks, calculated risks, not shutting up shop. Reviving growth and preparing our economy for the future also means supporting skills development. Tonight I announced that a coalition government will set a target of 400,000 apprentices and trainees in training across Australia. Yeah. Our plan is to restore targeted and proven incentive payments for employers to hire and train an apprentice. We will provide small and medium businesses with $12,000 to support them to put on a new apprentice or trainee in critical skills areas for the first 2 years of their training. Yeah. It will have a particular focus in the building and construction sector. Yeah. Mr Speaker, addressing Labor's cost of living crisis and energy crisis is just the start. In its first 2 years, the government brought in 1 million people through the migration program. That's 70% more migrants than in any 2-year period in Australia's history. And of course there'll be consequences. And yet, after 3 years in power, the Albanese government hasn't delivered a single additional new home built under its failed housing policies. Australians are generous and welcoming people, but they want migration to be sustainable and the government to be in control of it. Labor is neither in control of migration nor has it kept migration at sustainable levels, and Australians know it. I don't want young Australians locked out of the property market or having to rely on the bank of mum and dad. I want to see fewer Australians homeless and more Australians in homes. Mr Speaker, under Labor, migration will continue to put pressure on housing, on infrastructure and on services. But under the Coalition, we will cut the migration intake to free up housing and restore the great Australian dream of home ownership. Yeah. We will cut the permanent migration program by 25%. We will ban foreign investors and temporary residents from purchasing existing Australian homes for a period of 2 years. We will set stricter caps on foreign students to relieve stress on rental markets. And we will invest $5 billion in essential infrastructure to get stalled housing projects up and going. And it's going to create 500,000 new homes. We'll allow for first home buyers to access up to $50,000 of their super for a home deposit because it's better to get into a home sooner. When a government doesn't have any achievements to speak about, which is the reality for this government, it resorts to smears and scare campaigns. There's no greater sign of the Albanese government's desperation than its many-scare campaign, Labor's third attempt in less than a decade. But while Labor peddles falsehoods, we'll remind Australians of the facts. On this government's watch, bulk billing nationally has fallen by 11%. There's 41 million fewer bulk billing episodes with GP services under this government. And more than 270 GP practices have closed under this government's watch. Australians should never have to choose between seeing a doctor or paying their bills. Under Labor, Australians will have ongoing pressures on the health system, but under the Coalition, we will deliver quality health care. We will invest $9.4 billion into health. That includes incentivising junior doctors, as I announced last year, to work as GPs to address the current shortages at your local clinic. We will boost Medicare bulk billing. We will invest in hospitals, especially in high population growth areas where there's the biggest strain on services. We will guarantee cheaper medicines and lower the pharmaceutical benefit scheme co-payment to $25, and we'll invest $500 million into women's health. And we'll double the subsidised mental health sessions from 10 to 20 and make this arrangement permanent. Many young Australians require access to mental health services in any given year. And tonight I announced that a coalition government will invest an additional $400 million into youth mental health services. Yeah. We will expand the remit of the National Centre for Excellence in Youth Mental Health, which I created in 2014, into a national institute. We will boost regional services and expand treatment to Australia at the forefront of youth mental health treatment in the world. We will continue to support the world-leading Medical Research Future Fund, which I established as the then Health Minister. There is now more than $20 billion in that fund, and it's providing support to our specialists all around the country, to scientists, to researchers, to labs, all of them working on incredible projects, and that funding will continue to provide them with support and Australians with hope. Mr Speaker, in my travels across the country, Australians tell me they've never been more worried about crime and division in our community. It started with the Prime Minister's Voice referendum, which sought to divide our country by ancestry and race. He then left a vacuum of leadership following the crime wave in Alice Springs and the antisemitism on the steps of the Sydney Opera House. All too often, the Prime Minister is too weak, too late and too equivocal. This government has released 300 hardcore criminals from immigration detention into the community, with more than a third having reoffended against Australian citizens. It granted tourist visas to 3,000 people from a terrorist-controlled war zone conducted without security checks that should have been put in place. It's failed to deter people smugglers trying to reach our shores by illegal boats. It's turned a blind eye when our military personnel have been endangered. And it didn't stand up for our country when Chinese communist warships entered our waters without notice. And it relied on Virgin Australia pilots to alert us to the Chinese Navy's live fire exercise off our coast. Australia should be a country where people live without fear and without worrying about the future. Under Labor, you'll get the same weakness of leadership that has compounded crime and emboldened anti-Semitism on our streets. You'll get a nation that is less safe and less secure. But under the Coalition, we will provide the moral and political leadership needed to restore law, order and justice. Yeah. We will establish a dedicated anti-Semitism task force to turn the tide of this scourge of hatred. Every Australian should be equally treated.